Well, hello to everybody who's tuned in on this particular interview from the Blue Frontier Path Online Academy. My name is Chris Voisey. I am a tutor and teacher in presentation skills and communication. But today I'm playing the role of the interviewer, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce two people for today's interview, and I will introduce them shortly. Let me just say in the meantime that, of course, as an organization, as an online academy, Blue Frontier Path offers single tutorial services, a platform to students across various stages of learning. This is important. Services are offered to school-going children, to adults, to professionals, to people doing a doctorate or an MBA, whatever it might be. So this implies that our tutors are supporting you with your dissertation, supporting your school-going child, linking chess to maths, accounting, physics tutorials, all sorts of aspects of learning where we play the role of the tutor. In other words, like a mentor, someone who's helping you or your child get to grips with education more than they are currently able to do. That's the service we offer. Today, we're talking to a highly accomplished CEO who has been at the helm of a number of major businesses. And we're also talking to one of the leading chess players in South Africa who started playing chess way back when he was 4 years old. And he has studied chess internationally and, in fact, is an international chess master. So our first guest is Mr. Mteto Nyati. I think Mteto has a doctorate, so maybe I should refer to him as Dr. Nyati. And we also have Watu Kobese, who is our chess master. So, gentlemen, if you don't mind, we're going to make this fairly relaxed. So just share in whatever way you would like to. That's the style we do these interviews. So first to you, Mteto, I know you've been involved in a number of big companies. I think you were involved as the CEO of Eltron. I think you're involved now with, is it Watu Investments? And of course, you also have studied at Yale University, and you bring a lot to the work that we're doing in this country, what South Africa is trying to do, establishing themselves as a world country, which of course we are. So a very big welcome to you, Mteto. And could I just ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, if you're talking about business as a CEO, what has been some of the things that you've had to deal with, or some of your challenges?
Chris, thank you so much for having me on this platform. You guys are doing a great job, and I just could not be part of a platform like this one, which seeks to help many people to be able to grapple with some of the challenges that we face in this world.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, to answer your question, I am a father. That to me is an important thing. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I've got 3 children. I'm married with one wife, and so I mention my family because to me that is the foundation of everything that I do. And when I reach out to you, to the companies that I serve, I come back to this base of my home, and that has to be an important base, a strong base. It needs to be a supportive environment. So that is me. I'm an engineer by training, a mechanical engineer who has subsequently ended up moving into leadership roles. I've been in the manufacturing space as an industry. I worked in the information technology as an industry. I also worked in the telecommunications sector as an industry. And last but not least, I also worked in the process and petroleum. So those are the industries that I've worked in, and at the core of what I do is linked to my choice of a profession as an engineer. I solve problems, basically.
Mm.
That's what I do. That's why, and that's the core skill that I take across all of these sectors. It doesn't matter whether I can be thrown in pharmaceutical industry. I go back to my base core skill set that I've been given. I learned in engineering. I solve problems. I help solve problems. As many people run away from problems, I'm attracted to problems. So I've established myself as someone who is how you would call a turnaround specialist. When organizations are going through difficult times, I go there. When MTN was going through tough times, when Microsoft was going through a difficult time here in South Africa, IBM South Africa, and also Altron lately, I reached out, and in fact I was called to come and help those organizations. And yeah, that's who I am in a nutshell.
Mteto, thank you very much. I find that fascinating. You know, if we talk about leadership, which I think maybe I see that you are a world fellow, that Yale University has you as a world fellow on global leadership. And I find this fascinating because I think leadership is one of the biggest problems that we're facing worldwide. You know, if we look at leadership on the globe today, there are so many people at so many levels who are failing to lead, not only in South Africa, all over the world. I mean, of course, we've got some great leaders, but the point I'm trying to make is that leadership seems to be under the spotlight, as it were. Would you agree with me on that?
It continues to be. We're living. Look, we've always had challenges about leadership, but now, as our world is becoming even more complex, some of the challenges of leadership that were not apparent then become even more apparent now, because these people are failing to understand the complexity of the world that we're living in, and some of the solutions that are bringing, or some of them not even bringing any solutions to the table. They become even more apparent, and we find ourselves in a situation like in our country where we have really not been growing, a country that has got so much potential, that can be doing so many things, but because of lack of leadership, not at any one level, but across many levels in our country, we are finding ourselves being a mediocre country, which we should not be.
Yeah, absolutely. Watu, I'd like to bring you into the discussion from your perspective, because as an international chess master, I find this fascinating because chess obviously is an ancient game. It's, I think, was referred to at one stage as the game of kings. But there is a leadership aspect to that, one could say. I mean, can you comment on this leadership from your perspective as someone who is involved in chess?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that, basically as a chess player, what you are doing when you are playing, you are actually in a leadership position, because you are commanding an army, so to speak. And you have to make important decisions in terms of the direction that your army should take. So I think one of the key things, because in chess you've got two important, should we say, strategies, I would say. You've got strategy itself, and then you've got tactics. So, the tactics is basically knowing what to do when there is something to be done. So there are people who will fare well when there are things that have to be done. They know that, okay, I've got a checklist, I need to do APC, and they will do well there. They know what it is to be done. But the deeper term, strategy is actually knowing what to do when there isn't anything that has to be done. So it entails a lot of things: preparing, looking at risk management, looking at a number of different ideas, and then plotting the way forward. And that is the most difficult, I think. And that's where I see the problem of leadership that can be, because you've got a situation where it's not clear what it is that has to be done. No one can wake up and say, okay, you need to do these 10 things, and everything is done. So you could have a leader who, in terms of leadership, maybe is competent if things were to be done. But at the moment, it's not clear what has to be done, but there still has to be leadership.
So I find that fascinating that you put strategy and tactics together. So the strategy is maybe the picture of where are we going? What are the purpose of what we're doing? And the tactics are like the actual doing of something.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
getting in there and actually making this move or that move. That's very interesting. So strategy comes up here as an interesting concept. Mteto, I'd like to just go back to you for a second and say, obviously, in your roles that you've played, in the work that you've done, strategy, the execution of strategy becomes a very important thing in business. What are some of the things that go wrong in strategy, or where do we get it wrong?
Maybe let me start with the formulation of the strategy itself, because Watu rightly pointed out that when you get into situations, you don't know what to do. You need to come up with a point of view first and say, okay, this is what we need to be doing, and that point of view is informed by the environment in which you are operating in. You need to assess that environment, then come up with a point of view saying that this is how we should be proceeding. How do you go about doing that? In generally in companies, what we do is we do what we call environmental analysis, environmental scan, where you have a deep understanding of the space in which you are operating. Who are some of the key players in your space? Who are the people who are doing exactly the same thing as you are doing? And how are they differentiating themselves in the market? What is it that they're strong at? What is it that they're weak at? You look at yourself. Self-awareness is very important as a company. What are we good at? What are the things that we should be strengthening? What are the things that we should be eliminating as we move forward? Gathering all of that information comes from engaging with your stakeholders, some of them being your own employees. Your own employees can be a source of insight that many leaders never tap into, because these employees are the ones that are engaging and delivering the products and services of this company to customers. They are in the cold face. They are experiencing the problems. So you need to tap into them and understand what is it that they are facing. What are the things that it's easy for them to do for the company? What are the things where they're finding they're struggling when they're engaging in the market, when they're representing the company? Getting insights from your customers. Where are the customers going? Because if you are not relevant to those customers, you are not going to be relevant. They're not going to be buying from. Where are they planning to be going in the next 5 years? Thinking about the environment of the government. What is the government, the operating environment going to be like? The regulation. You can have all of the big plans, then they decide to nationalize completely your industry. Boom, you've got nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you do not understand what is going to be happening in that space, you then integrate all of these inputs and then come up now with a plan. And this is a game plan for achieving your objective. That's really, to me, strategy is as simple as that. In some cases, it could be about winning a match. It could be completing a degree. It could be being successful in terms of an industry. It doesn't matter. It's a goal that you have set out for yourself, and you have created a way and means to make sure that you accomplish that objective. And doing that, you have short-term things that you need to do, medium-term things, and long-term things to do. You need to break down. So going back to your question, what goes wrong? What goes wrong is this thing of trying to eat the whole elephant at the same time. It can be a big thing. You need to break into sizable chunks that you can go and execute. You also need to look, do you have the people? Do you have the people in your organization to do what is required? If you do not have, or if maybe you are missing here and there, bring the required expertise into the organization to help you to do the execution. The most boring part of strategy, strategy formulation is easy. It's just like dreaming. The most boring part is the doing part and the monitoring of things happening.
And I suppose
that is where we fail as most organizations.
Yeah. And I suppose very often, of course, it's, seeing what's ahead of you. I mean, Watu, I find this a very fascinating discussion. And I find myself thinking that in the game of chess, where we learn so much in terms of strategy, but some of the things that Mteto has been referring to there are so applicable. Does chess teach us some of this? I mean, I'm assuming it teaches us how to see ahead, to see what's coming up. It teaches us how to assess the playing field, as it were. Things that Mteto has mentioned seem to apply very much in the chess environment.
I just want to come in before Watu comes in, because I want to mention a chess thing so that he can answer that. For example, you lose your queen, right? You lose your queen earlier on in the game, you end up losing your. It's like you are starting, this company is starting with a big weakness. But how do you then make sure that you continue to play in the game and in the end, you may end up being successful?
Okay, so Watu, it would be good to have your comment. We're going to run out of time, gentlemen. I just had a warning. We've only got a couple of minutes. Unfortunately, this is a fascinating discussion. Maybe we can take it to another level at some point. Watu, give us your point there.
Yeah, look, I'm actually what Mteto was actually highlighting. To me, it was fascinating because yes, it's got a very beautiful way of capturing, the whole step-by-step process. And as a chess player, it actually it's fascinating because that actually is what you go through in chess. First, I mean and absolutely, I agree with Mteto completely, in the sense that the formulation of strategy, well, if you can, right, if you've learned the skills, is the easy part. The difficult part, of course, is the implementation part of it, and where it comes also to knowing the long-term and the short-term goals. That's also very important. And in chess, though, it's basically that you've got this opponent opposing you. So, and that you can think about as life, and as Mteto was saying, the different regulations that are changing the environment you are in. So that is the opponent in life. You've got limited resources, you've got changes in the environment that you're operating on, and so on. But the issue is that you still have to be working within that environment. And he made actually a very beautiful example where you actually lose your asset. You're coming from a point of weakness, but the point is that the game is not lost. There still is some strategy that is applicable there, where you have to actually look at the resources that you have, and a lot of it is actually well, I'll bring in, for example, something that is in chess and I don't really see in actual life. In chess, it's more, if somebody makes a big threat in a specific position, you've got, you obviously, there are two ways to deal with it. You can deal with that threat and say, I'm in trouble here. But there is also another strategy that is very chess linked, which says, yes, I'm in trouble, but I also look at, of course, in chess, it will be a move. The move that was played, before that move was played, what was my opponent's position, right? There is also a weakness that has been made by them making a specific move. So in real life, it could be, okay, I'm having this situation, but I think we don't do that a lot. We don't reflect back and say, before the situation has happened, what was the situation before that? And so I think, in chess, to answer your question, there is a lot that you actually are learning, in one game. If you play against a competent, opponent, where you are applying strategy, but it's not easy going.
Yeah.
You're getting all these the opposition, really.
Yes.
And
of course,
you're sharpening your skills as you're going along.
Exactly. Chess is pushing you into the corner to sharpen your thinking skills, and to sharpen your viewing skills, as it were, even your assessment skills, as Mteto refers to. All these things are taking place. Gentlemen, I'm going to stop us there, as much as I would love to continue this discussion, because I find it absolutely fascinating. You've both been such brilliant interview subjects, if I may call you that. And thank you very, very much for being with us on this interview. I just want to say to our viewers, you can hear more from these gentlemen and people of this caliber through the Blue Frontier Path Online Academy. So I encourage you to go onto the website, to go onto the platform, find out more about what is offered, where you can get this kind of input into your own education and learning. Mteto and Watu, I thank you very much indeed. I'm going to be speaking to the gentleman who runs Blue Frontier Path, because I would like to continue this discussion. You've both written books. You're both experts in your fields. I'd like to find a little bit more that could help our viewers on Blue Frontier Path. A very big thank you to you both. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Take care. Bye.